welcome to This Feral Life podcast. We had actually started this podcast already. However, we had a giant thunderstorm and kind of lost everything, which, heck, we were only about 7 minutes in. So it's okay. We can start this all over. And then what you missed, the only thing you guys really missed out on was some really awesome sound effects from the lightning and some mild swearing from is the power off? Is the power off? Is it coming back on? And a couple of arguments like that. So we were talking. Yeah, we're back. You guys didn't even miss us. So worked out really well. Today we're going to be talking about fish and aquaculture and how that's going to work for you in a small backyard farm or a homesteading operation. They work super, super well. As far as cost versus return, your fish are going to be really, really huge on that. They grow super, super fast. Like for your tilapia in the south down here, you can run 4 batches of tilapia a year. If you're going to do backyard aquaculture, I suggest those above ground pools because you can get them for cheap. How you source those instead of buying them is you wait till the end of the season and you go and you check Craigslist and the marketplace, and a lot of people are giving them away for free if you show up and disassemble them. Like break them down for them. They're more than happy to give them to you. My wife, on the other hand, she would rather go slightly smaller.
Yes, I have to rein my husband in because he's just go big or go home mentality. So you could do a stock, one of those, what are they, the stockpile or
stock tank?
Stock tank. What happened there? I think the rain distracted me.
Yeah.
Okay, you can do a stock tank, the round ones from Harbor Freight or from Tractor Supply. So that's a nice start. You have to keep in mind the excess because you are going to, this is a very fast growing, efficient way to feed your family. But you are going to grow a lot. And so you have to keep in mind, like, how am I going to store it? How am I going to process it? You can't sell it because you need a wholesale license to sell it. My husband likes to think he's slick and he wants to create memberships and membership cards for people.
That's how I'm looking at it. Okay. Is it like, how like the VFW sells beer, but they you have to buy a membership or like a day membership. Maybe that's just our local VFW, but where you'd buy like a $10 membership and that would give you access to the beer because now you're a member. It's a club. So I'm thinking I'm gonna go down to Staples and print off a whole bunch of membership cards to the ThisFeralLife backyard fish farm or fish keeping club or whatever, and aquaculture club. There you go. Aquaculture club. And sell those cards for $50 or $100 or whatever, and they could present that card and get a little punch on it, and that gets them a certain poundage of fish or whatever you're growing at the time. Allegedly, that's yeah. Thank you. Allegedly, that's how I would allegedly do it. Allegedly.
So just keep that in mind. Like, how many mouths are you going to feed? You can give away fish. So if you wanted to get in on it with a local family, community, hey, you guys grow your own little fish. You have your own little fish farm. That's really cool as heck. And it's actually a lot healthier and it tastes better.
Yeah, you don't have to deal with the swampiness of like fish from the store. For example, like tilapia, a lot of those times those guys are grown in wastewater treatment facilities because they'll eat poo.
Gross.
Yeah, not cool. And tilapia grows super fast. Realistically, in like a 10-foot above ground pool, you could put 1,000 tilapia fingerlings in there, right? And in 4 months, pull out 2,000 pounds worth of meat. And that's not being unrealistic at all. That's being relatively conservative. If you feed them, if you do like the hybrid Nile Mozambique guys, they're super fast growing, and they do really well. So on tilapia, let's talk about those guys a little bit. We'll start at the top, right? So tilapia, they're one of the fastest growing, the Mozambique hybrid guys. They grow from a 1 ounce little fingerling to over a pound in just 4 months. if you follow the intensive RAS type feeding schedule, you can bump that up to almost 1.5 pounds in 4 months. But you're going to feed them 4 times a day, and they're gonna do nothing but eat. Now, for you guys that are up north, you can do the pure blue strain tilapia. They can survive water down to 47 degrees, so they can do pretty well for you guys into your late fall before it freezes. If you're doing above ground pool, you have a large body of water that takes a long time to cool down and a long time to heat back up. Tilapia really don't give a dang how warm it gets. They care about how cold it gets. You definitely want to keep them above 55 degrees in the water, or they just metabolically completely shut down. You can kind of hear a daughter singing in the background. She's just providing ambience. It's all it is. She's singing songs. Happiness.
Like a canary.
Yep. She likes to sing. So those guys work out really, really well for about everybody. You can also grow those in like your stock tanks, like you were talking about. IBC totes work really well for them. One thing that I found is that in every type of growing situation, you want the water moving in a spiral. Just so that all the water moves in one big spiral. That's going to take and push all the poo to the middle. And then you have your outtake. So your suction is going to be under a plate. So we've seen people take a piece of plexiglass or, what is that other clear stuff called? It's not plexiglass. It's like the same kind of cutting board material, but they'll buy a big piece of it. They'll cut it into a circle. They'll put it about on little blocks, like 1 inch up off the bottom, or on little rocks 1 inch off the bottom, and put their suction on there. So what happens is it causes that plate to now work to pull everything in. So as the water spirals around, all the poo gets pushed to the middle and is pulled up from that plate and now taken to your filtration system. When you're talking about something as dirty as fish, especially heavily stocked fish, you want a really heavy filtration system. You can do this several different ways. You can do it by making the biological filtrations out of 55-gallon drums. Those work really, really well. You can do that, but you can do it by making like a river system, or what word am I trying to say? Like a swamp system, where you take a large trough and you fill it full of lava rocks on the bottom, then smaller rocks, and then sand on top, and you plant a bunch of plants in there, and you put your water in at one end, and the clean water comes out on the other. So it's like a natural wetlands kind of environment, right? That works really well. A lot of people don't want to deal with trying to keep their wetlands alive and growing, so they just use the 55-gallon drums. And what they do for those is they fill them full of like mesh. I've seen even people use those floor buffer, like what do you call those? The floor buffer pads?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Buy a bunch of the floor buffer pads because they're really cheap. Yeah. But the thicker ones, the ones with the open weave, like ones for stripping floors in the bottom, and then put a layer of lava rock, and then put the progressively finer ones up there towards the top. So you catch all of the dry, heavy poo at the top, so it doesn't get down there and build up in the bottom. So you're kind of building your filter in kind of reverse. Does that make sense, everybody?
That's really good. That's really
and then
genius.
So the hole that goes down through the middle there, I've seen people put a piece of PVC pipe and then hook it up to a bubbler, so it's constantly pushing air through there, and that causes it to be a big, like aerobic digestion chamber. You get your nitrifying bacteria go crazy in there, and it works really, really well. For something like a 10-foot pond, you're going to need about 3 of those going full time. So you just have your one, instead of taking your pool pump is more than powerful enough to run this entire system. Just take the filter part and heat it. You don't need it. It's not going to do you any good. It's going to clog up every 15 minutes. Unless you just wanted to fill it full of bio orbs or lava rock, it's just going to be a mess. So you can just hook your pool pump directly up to it. and just have the outtake, split the outtake with PVC to 1.5 inch PVC into each one of the top of each one of those 55-gallon drum barrels. I'd just build a little platform for all three of them to be on, so they just drain back naturally into the pond, and that'll cause a little waterfall effect, which would aerate the pond anyhow.
Yeah, create the bubbles.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's going to aerate your pond anyway and keep them happy and alive. As far as feeding goes, tilapia are really, really easy. One of the best ways to feed tilapia is to go and buy some duckweed, or there are a lot of commercial strains of duckweed out there that grow super, super fast. I've also just seen people go out to the local pond and just, use a fish net and pick up some duckweed from there. However, I worry about bringing in, bacteria and viruses and molds and stuff like that from a local duck pond. But they'll take those, and then at the end of the year, you get those kiddie pools, little kiddie pools for super cheap. They just put 6 or 8 inches of water at the bottom of each one of those kiddie pools. Have 2 or 3 kiddie pools out there. Throw a handful of Miracle Grow in each one of them, maybe a tablespoon or two. Then throw their duckweed in the bottom in there and just let it go crazy. And they just harvest half of the duckweed, because duckweed replicates itself every 24 hours. The commercial strains replicate themselves like every 16 and a half hours. But what those do is so you can harvest half of your duckweed every day and feed it directly to your tilapia without any processing or anything, every single day, and not ever approach the running out of duckweed. The duckweed has a super high protein, super high lipids. It's a complete food for your fish. The only thing it's missing is a little bit of calcium, which if you supplement and you're trying to grow them really fast anyway, you're going to buy a commercial fish feed. Tractor Supply almost everywhere carries catfish, like floating catfish food of various sizes. And that is honestly, between that and your duckweed, going to be more than enough to feed your tilapia and make them super, super happy and grow fast. Anything you want to add to the tilapia?
I just want fish tacos now.
Yeah, no, they're really easy to harvest.
I don't want a big old operation. Like for us personally, I don't want a big old operation.
Yeah, she says.
I really don't.
And it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen
because of you.
Yeah.
No.
I only go one speed. That's America.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't want this big old fish operation, but I do want fish tacos, and I do want to have like a variety of proteins and meats for my family. I don't want to just have like.
You got a big old family that's gonna want food too.
I'm gonna tell them you said that.
You got a bunch of people in your family. I
do have a bunch of people. I have a huge family. Fish tacos, that's been a staple in my family, It's very nice during the summer, and some watermelon and stuff. So I look forward to that.
Yeah, you got a bunch of people in your family. It's not like we're going to ever have a problem getting rid of food.
Right.
We just go, hey guys, y'all want something? And they just flock on over.
So let's talk about processing it.
Okay, that's the not fun part.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work. You're going to get, by the time you're done, you're going to be real good at filleting fish. So that's just sit down, crack open a case of beer, and get after it type thing. I like to put the fillets in what are those vacuum seal bags?
Mm-hmm.
I like to put a couple of them in each bag and then just vacuum seal them. We kind of get a.
So you get them, you wash them.
Yeah, you take your fish out, you conk them on the head, stab them, whatever you want to do, the Ikejima type way.
Yeah.
Yeah. However you want to murder your livestock's up to you. But you take them out, you process your fish. You can. The easiest way is going to be just fillet them without gutting every one of them or anything. You just fillet them. And then you'll take your fillets. What we like to do is have like a cooler full of salty ice water.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as the fillet is done, it gets chucked into the cooler full of salty ice water. And the reason that we use salty ice water is instead of just having a big thing of fresh water, is that the what do you call it? The osmolarity of the salty ice water keeps the fish from absorbing a bunch of water and becoming mushy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It keeps it nice and firm. Now, you're not trying to go like super salty. You're going for like the ocean, like saltiness, right? Or slightly under. I have never actually measured it. I just throw in a couple of cups of salt into a cooler and toss a bunch of ice and then fill the rest of it up with water and then mix it around until it's all done. It becomes super cold too. And then the person who is then going to take those fish, those fillets out. So if you're fast at filleting, I'm not the fastest. I'm passable, but not the fastest in the entire world. So they usually can keep up with me pretty well. So the person that's doing the packaging is going to be at the table on the other side of that uh, or just we do it in like a big long conga line. So they'll be just past the cooler so they can reach over with their right hand, grab their fish fillets, throw them up there, kind of let them dry for a second, and then put them into their perspective bags and then pass them down the line to the vacuum seal people. And it works out really well. At that point is the point where you would want to add, if you wanted to add seasonings, if you want to do anything special with them, if you wanted to add some marinade or something, the package person would be the stop to do that. They take it out, they throw in a handful or a scoop full of the seasoning, pass it down the line, and just it would just get mixed in as it goes. And that's about it, man. I mean, it's really, really easy. And then you want to get them frozen as soon as possible after that. Now you have a whole bunch of fish that are great for the garden. Don't throw them away. Don't compost them. Just bury them in the garden. Dig a trench. Throw in your fish, plant your tomatoes over the top of them, like anything that's a heavy feeder. The Native Americans have been doing it forever. It works super, super well. There's nothing to worry about that way. Then you can just drain your pond and drain it. Use it to water your grass. Any excess effluent water of any type. If you're going to rinse out your cleaner filters, rinse out anything, that's good. That's liquid gold. I mean, it's highly nutritious, nutrient dense water for plants. Don't drink it. Don't drink your pool water. But you definitely want to put it on your plants, your roses, your grass, your corn, your garden. There's nothing that the tilapia have that it's going to translate into a disease that you can get, right? And as far as breeding tilapia, don't worry, don't do it. There's a bunch of people that do. There's a whole bunch of but you're gonna have to bring them inside into an aquarium. They're mouth brooders, so it's just a big pain in the butt. It's not worth it when they're so incredibly cheap online. Heck, even Amazon, you can buy tilapia on live tilapia fingerlings on Amazon. Everybody's got live tilapia fingerlings. They're so cheap. If you wanted to get 1,000 of them, is going to set you back just like $100. So they're super, super cheap everywhere. Tilapia are not one of the things I would suggest that you attempt to breed. And none of these fish really are something, or none of the things we're talking about today are anything I would attempt to breed except for crawfish, because they'll breed through absolute pure and total neglect. Just leave them alone and you'll make more crawfish.
I'm not a fan of crawfish. So I tried it for the first time. It was okay. Just nothing what I expected, honestly.
Well, there's not a lot.
A lot of people love it.
Yeah,
so.
There's not a lot of meat on them.
Yeah, there really isn't. So it's like a lot of work for not a lot of meat. And, it was savory, it was good, but just something that I wouldn't, put on my menu very often.
So I think we've pretty much covered tilapia pretty good. Yeah. You can't really mess up tilapia, guys. They're really, really hard. As long as it's warm, tilapia are fine. They're happiness and sunshine. Up north, where it's not, you're not getting 115 degrees every day, you can grow them just right out in the sun. Except for your reds or your albino tilapia. You don't want to put those guys in the sun. They get sun scald. All the rest of them, you can just grow them out there. Tilapia are not one of the fish you're going to worry about jumping out of your water or your container a lot. So you don't have to really worry about having a top cover. I would put some bird netting or chicken wire over the top to keep out your critters. If you have raccoon issue, or if you're along a bird of prey migration area, it would really it would really suck to sit there drinking your morning coffee, look out there over your tilapia farm, and just watch hawk after hawk swoop down and fly away with your hard raised fish.
Is that a thing?
That's a thing.
Can I have some? I can't fight off hawks.
No.
What am I gonna do?
You're gonna put some chicken wire over
Okay.
it. Yeah, just
seriously, there's still predators for like fish.
yeah, everything
Well, I'm
eats
sure
fish.
raccoons too, right?
Yeah, raccoons are terrible. I wouldn't worry about like mosquitoes or anything in there. That's just extra food. The fish are gonna eat them. Don't worry about it.
Mosquitoes.
Yeah, you're not gonna have anything in there. They're gonna eat them. Not a big deal. So there's your tilapia. Let's talk about catfish. Like catfish, everybody has catfish, right? There's a bunch of different types of catfish. There's only one that really does well in aquaponics. Those are going to be channel catfish. Channel catfish do pretty well. In the wild, it takes them about a year to reach a pound, which is not the bestest in the entire world. However, in aquaponics, if you're feeding them, they'll go from little bitty guys, which you can buy, they're cheap, very, very cheap, to 1 pound cats in about 6 months. If you want to let them go for, a 18 months or so, or even if you let them go for an entire year, they don't do well in the cold. I mean, they live, but their metabolism shuts down to the point where they're not growing anymore, and it's just really not worth it, right? Like they don't do anything, and you're at that point you're just paying for power to circulate water. So as soon as it gets cold, as soon as it starts getting warm, throw your catfish in there, and then in the fall when it starts getting cool, harvest your catfish. If it's over 6 months, 180 days, they're going to be a pound. Anything longer, and they're gonna keep growing. So 6 months for catfish. If you have a 6-month warm period, you could do catfish. Catfish are super easy. The one caveat I would say is that catfish have spines. And because of those spines, they can puncture, if you get them super excited, the sides of your above ground pool. So catfish might be something you want to do in a stock tank, or you might want to do it in a pool if you put down a separate liner in the pool first. Like those, I've seen them for sale. Those big rubber billboard sign, the nylon cover, or not nylon, but they use them for tarps. The billboard signs, when they take them down, they give you those you can buy the big old tarps. Yeah, those are waterproof and everything. They work good for a liner in the pond, but you're probably just going to be better using them in a stock tank. Yeah, or you can capture them all and use some wire cutters and cut off the spines. It's not going to kill the fish, won't hurt the fish. They'll be perfectly fine. You just nib the ends of each of the spines so they're not pokey anymore, which will make processing a heck of a lot easier because you're not going to get stabbed with catfish all the time. Won't kill the catfish, won't really hurt them. And it'll keep them from poking holes in each other and in the sides of your pond.
I've always stayed away from catfish because one, yes, they poke, and then two, like I've just never. It always had like a fishy taste to it.
Well, that's because you're eating them grown in a pond.
Yeah.
So
maybe that's why, but yeah, maybe it'll be a different experience if we ever have any. But
we'll do them just to say we did them.
Of course, that's your mantra.
Yeah, exactly. So I've had friends do them, but yeah, you will do them just because we can.
Yeah.
Somebody will eat them.
Right. Figure it out.
Yeah. So catfish, they're pretty indestructible, guys. A couple of cold nights not going to hurt them. A couple of warm days is not going to hurt them.
Ooh, we could do a fish fry.
Yeah, you could do a fish fry.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Okay. It's on. Fine.
They're pretty easy to process. I've seen a lot of people do them. Just chop the heads off, grab the skin with pliers, pull all the skin, and then gut them, and then do them whole like that. And that's a really easy way to process them. Also, filleting them works really, really well. Then you can also plant them. Once again, underneath any sort of tree underneath, plant them in the ground underneath your tree, post hole dig, or use your tractor, or use your children to dig holes and put them under there. So it works out really well. There's never any sort of waste on the farm. Never any sort of waste. And catfish, they're cheap. They're not as cheap as tilapia. It depends on where you're at. If you're back east, where there's a lot of catfish farms, they're really, really, really cheap. They don't ship them as often in the mail because they're pokey. You're going to pay a little bit more for shipping because you're going to have to put them in a special type of bagging. To keep them from popping it and ending up as all little dried raisins by the time they get there. But baby catfish are adorable. Like, they're tiny little guys. They look just like full-size catfish, except that they're, itty-bitty, like less than an inch long. But, they're super easy. You can, if you're cheap, like me, instead of buying special baby catfish food, I just get the regular size catfish food and grind it up through the coffee grinder. I have a dedicated coffee grinder because
he has his own special coffee grinder, guys. Because I cannot trust this man with a coffee grinder, so it's not happening.
Weird things go through the coffee grinder.
Not in mine.
Yeah. I like the little KitchenAid one that you push on the top and it goes because it's got a beast of a motor and it'll grind anything, practically rocks. So I like that one. So you just grind it up. You're going to feed a catfish at least when they're babies at least 4 to 5 times a day. As they get older, you can go back down to 2 times a day. It's hard to supplement their feed. So unlike tilapia, which you can feed for practically free, catfish, you're going to have to buy food for them. I've seen people try to feed them cheap dog food. That just seems to make the water a mess and give it like an oily film. Cheap cat food. Come on, guys. Really, it's more expensive than the cheap catfish food to begin with. You buy the 40, 50-pound bags of catfish food for cheap. Why would you buy the cheap cat food and it's more expensive? As with any fish, if you put a light over the pond at night, all the bugs are going to hit it and fall into the pond. And it's free food for your fish. Catfish are not jumpers, so you don't really have to worry about them trying to jump their way out. You're still going to have to put some netting over there to keep unwanted critters out or all your fish from flying off with hawks and eagles and things. But a cheap bug zapper put over the top of your pond, like on a little tripod hanging off over the top, or anywhere over your pond, is going to do wonders for increasing the protein that your fish get. And that works for any of the fish, except I don't think it would do well for like crawdads. But it'd do well for the shrimp. The shrimp will eat the living crap out of them. They'll eat anything. They'll eat anybody, anything. So that's about it for catfish. I can't really think of anything else to add. Catfish are just easy. If you build on what we talked about with tilapia, and the build and everything applies to the catfish. They're just spiky. So we talked catfish. Let's talk about somebody that's in a colder region. What you can do. Trout. And I envy you for that. I would love to do trout here, except when the water gets above 60 degrees, all the trout die. They start getting really, really stressed about 60 degrees, 65 degrees, and they all die. So here I would be limited to doing trout for...
And what's wrong with that? We would do a couple of cycles of it.
No, I'd only have like maybe 2 months. Where I could, and they wouldn't, in that 2 months, they wouldn't make it to their full size.
Okay.
Trout, you need you need like 6 months for trout. They're kind of a slower growing guy, but once they do kind of pick up speed and start putting on weight, they put on a lot of weight. So rainbow trout are really, really cheap. The hybrid trout are really, really cheap. You can find most of them online. They ship super easy. They do really, really well in aquaculture. They do require very clean water. They do like it going in a spiral because they like to be active swimmers. Other than that, the trout food is cheap. There's always a market for them, which means that your You might have to sell at two different tiers of membership. You might have an individual and family membership tier to your fancy backyard fish farm, and then like a corporate tier where the owner of the restaurant could come and receive their benefits at your farm. Ha 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 ha. America. There's always a way around everything. So, yeah, trout, you're never going to have a problem with getting rid of them. I would try to shoot for raising those guys for at least 5 months, and I would shoot for getting the largest fingerlings you can afford. Fingerlings, they tend to go from really, really cheap to progressively expensive up to like $2 or $3 a piece for pretty decent size ones. I wouldn't try to spend the $2 or $3 a piece ones. I'd shoot for the under $2 guys, and I would probably buy at least 100 at a time. $200 sounds like a pretty big investment. For some people, it is. However, you're going to turn those $200 worth of fish in 6 months into, $500 or $600 or $800 worth of fish. Now, trout are jumpers. Trout are moderately of the three fish. Trout are the dumbest. As far as trout are kind of like turkeys. Turkeys spend the vast majority of their youth trying to find creative ways to kill themselves. Yeah, trout are kind of like that. Trout, if a light bulb is close enough, trout will jump at it until they break it. I've seen people lose their trout because they jumped at a light bulb, they broke the light bulb, the light bulb fell in the water and electrocutes all the fish. Yeah. So I've seen them do that. Just having just chicken wire over the top of the cage keeps it fine. Trout are super active feeders in the evenings and at night. So they're going to like having your bug zappers, like 2 or 3 bug zappers or a bug zapper and a couple light bulbs over the top of their cage. And now we're not talking about super bright light bulbs. You don't want it to be daylight out there, but just a couple of like regular broad spectrum standard incandescent light bulbs out there so that they attract a bunch of bugs is going to help a lot. That'll help with your feed costs a lot, and you'll see the growth rate of your fish be significantly larger. Trout are pretty sensitive to their water parameters, so you're gonna need to check your water pretty often. You want to keep it, pretty neutral. pH wise, keep your ammonia down. So definitely make sure that you have a very good biologically active filtration system. Do water changes if anything gets a little out of whack, but make sure to use that water to water your gardens and stuff. It's got a lot of good nitrogen in it and phosphorus and potassium and everything else. It's great for you. Trout are pretty easy, guys, like pretty easy. Yeah, most of the stuff about it doesn't really talk about backyard growing trout. It was a thing where I grew up in southeastern Idaho. That was a thing. Like people would grow but we were not very far from a major fish hatchery where you could buy the fish for like in a cooler, like show up and pay $40 and get an entire cooler full of baby fingerlings and take them home and throw them in your backyard pond and grow your trout for the year. So that was a pretty easy thing. Yeah, I mean, what else you got to say about trout? Or do you like trout? Trout are delicious.
Yeah, trout's delicious, and it pairs well with lemon orzo. So I like that, and I like it with asparagus. So really good stuff.
Yeah. So, trout are great. Trout are fun. Trout are easy. Let's see. I think that about covers it for most of the fish. Now, there's a bunch of different stuff out there. There's a bunch of people like, oh, why aren't you going to grow, what do you call those guys?
Mackerels.
I don't think those are saltwater fish.
Not bad.
No,
this is how little I know about fish farming, honestly. It's not like my top contender.
Yeah, bluegills and stuff like that. I don't like or a bass, for example. I don't like to grow stuff that's like that's a game fish that's native to my area, because you run into a kind of a sketchy area there where the fish and game guys can argue, hey, did you buy those? Did you catch those and put them in your system? Like, what are you doing here? And then they argue that, hey, if they release, they could cause a bunch of problems, even though your fish farm's in the middle of a field and it would require something on the level of a biblical flood in order to release your fish. You might need a special permit for anything native. So I try to stay away from native stuff, native game fishes. If you wanted to get into kind of like a bonus backside, if you wanted to get into aquaculture for doing nothing but raising bait for like bait fish and stuff like that to sell to a bait fish company, that'd be a way to do it. And there's a bunch of people who raise koi in their backyard and sell koi. So there's a whole bunch of things you can do with it besides just making fish to eat. But that's pretty much what we're going to talk about as far as fish wise. I can't really think of anything else I want to add as far as the fish before we get to crustaceans. Can you? You got any more fish stuff?
I got nothing.
All right. So let's what do you got for news of the day, though?
Ooh,
you got news?
I got.
So let's take a half a second break before getting to crustaceans and talk about some news.
So this news falls in line to what we discussed last week and your concerns with Kansas and their wheat problems with the droughts. You actually have China, who's experiencing the opposite of that. They're experiencing a lot of rain. So the most rain that they've seen in 10 years, and so all the wheat is wet. There's a lot of blight in the wheat. There is wheat that is sprouting, and when there's blight, obviously, and then when it's sprouting, it's non-consumable by humans, so you can't eat it anymore. So they've pivoted quickly into animal feed. However, you still run the risk of feeding your animals mold and giving them aspergillus, and so it's just a really really crazy things that are going on with the whole wheat issue. So we're getting hit on both ends, right? Kansas with the majority of what they grow here in the U.S., and then you got China. So China is quickly buying wheat from Australia, and it's created a lot of havoc. So just keep an eye on that. And again, as Eric mentioned last week, it would behoove you to purchase some, flour and just, have some flour stored away. I'm not saying go and hoard and go in and do all that fear mongering and all that, hoarding. Yeah, that's crazy. Don't be crazy. But, just store some, like Eric mentioned, if you want bread rolls for your Thanksgiving dinner, it'd be nice to have that option. So,
I mean, the wheat might be there and the flour might be there, but it might be the cheapest you're going to see wheat or flour for the next 2 years might be now.
Yeah, and they're expecting like a loss of 30 million tons.
Yeah.
Tons. I mean, that blows my mind. And they're trying to do everything in their power to so apparently Chinese farmers are well versed when it comes to floods and raining. However, again, they haven't seen this type of rain in over 10 years. So they're freaking out. So they're doing everything in their power to dry all the wheat, bringing in fans, trying to dry it as quickly as possible, moving as quickly as possible, harvesting it as quickly as possible. But then again, it's not fully matured, it's sprouting, and it's, some of it's diseased and contaminated. So, not consumable for humans. And that's a big blow that China's experiencing at the moment. So hopefully they can, purchase enough, wheat from Australia to kind of
offset
that. But even so, I think what I read, it was like they had just purchased 6 million tons of wheat, and to their 30 million that they're expecting to lose, so not really offsetting it too much.
And then you had all those floods in India, Pakistan that took out all the rice. Yep. So we're just kind of hitting all sides as far as grain goes this year. It's not the best year for grain.
No, it's not.
But sweet. Is that all you got for news?
That's all I got for news.
Sweet. Well, let's talk about. Well, we can do tree of the day. We usually do it at the end of the thing, but let's do tree of the day because this is a fun tree. So the tree of the day is going to be the Galaxy Peach. It's also called the Flat Peach, the Donut Peach, Bagel Peach, UFO Peach. It's got a whole bunch of different names, but particularly the Galaxy Peach because it's the largest of the UFO type peaches. So they're the flat ones that are kind of big circles. This is a vigorous tree. It bears unique looking fruit that decorates its branches. The fruit's soft, blush red skin surrounds a smooth, firm white flesh. So it's one of the white fleshed peaches. This particular one melts in your mouth. It's real soft. So it's not going to be a good shipper, but it'll do great at the farmer's market or for fresh eating. This one originates from Pallier, California. It was introduced to the market in 2003. It's a heat-tolerant, semi-freestone. Ripens in late July. It's self-pollinating. The fruit average 6 ounces. It says it's with the characteristically sweet flavor profile. Galaxy has light cream skin, accented with an attractive red blush, and features an additional delicate aroma of white flesh peaches. Inside the flesh is a sweet taste, the pleasantly firm texture that growers describe as melting. This makes a great juicing peach. It makes a great canning peach. It makes really good jams and jellies. It's great for fresh eating as well. You take one of these peaches and you just gently drop it in some boiling water and just for a few seconds, just enough to loosen the skin, and then you peel the skin off with the back of a spoon or your fingers. And you put that down, and you put a scoop of ice cream over the top of it, and that's a heck of a treat on a warm summer day. So it's really good fun peach to have. We'll talk about the plant of the day a little bit later. We're going to talk about crustaceans next. Yay!
Yay!
What was that crustacean off of Little Mermaid?
Sebastian?
Sebastians. We're going to talk about Sebastian. Sebastians. All right. So Sebastians or crawfish farming. So there's a couple ways to do this. My favorite way is cheating. And my favorite way to cheat with this is I like to buy some adult crawfish. Child. So I buy adult crawfish when HEB has them on sale. So they sell the live Louisiana crawfish, and you buy a couple of pounds of those guys, throw them in your tank, and let them breed. They are super, super good at that. And as long as you feed them well, they will hatch out and raise a whole bunch of babies really pretty quickly. And if you're geared towards making a sustainable type crawfish farm, that's a good way to do it. If you just go out there and harvest 20 or 30 pounds of crawfish from your big 10-foot, 12-foot pool every few months, then you're never going to run out of crawfish. The biggest thing with those guys is to make sure to feed them adequately. And occasionally a good treat for those might be one of your, filleted tilapia or filleted catfish, because they will eat it all completely. Catfish, crawfish will eat everything organic. Here in Texas and Louisiana, they raise them in rice fields. And that's so after they've harvested the rice, a certain percentage of the rice falls down into the water, and the crawfish eat it while it's still flooded. It's pretty neat. As far as you go with your backyard endeavor, is it would probably be pretty darn neat to be able to have your crawfish and feed them some scraps. I wouldn't go and feed them like yesterday's meatloaf, just because it's going to make a mess in the water. But as far as some vegetable scraps occasionally would not hurt them at all. Some parboiled carrots, an apple occasionally, but apples float, so you might have to squish it a bunch to get it to to sink in there. But any sort of vegetable stuff like that, it's not going to hurt them. They'll eat it. But chop it up so they don't all fight over one big piece, like fight over one carrot. You'll end up with a whole bunch of missing claws and legs that way. The biggest thing about crawdads is that they are very territorial and they need to have their little space. Their own little space can be as small as just like a PVC pipe that you put in there. So cutting off a whole bunch of PVC pieces that are or pipe pieces that are like 8 inches to a foot long, and having them bundled and bundling them up with some rope and throwing them in there as kind of like crawfish condominiums. It will go a long ways as far as peacefulness goes with your crawdads. Having some vegetation in there wouldn't hurt at all. Some sticks, just get a little crazy. Just think about making your own little pond in there. Planting some plants wouldn't hurt. Do some water lilies just for fun, so you get something to look at. Because unlike the fish, the crawdads aren't going to be swimming through the water, so it's just going to look like you have this big placid pond out there. You can put in, throw in some minnows and stuff in there. The crawfish might eat them, but oh well. But they'll keep your mosquitoes and stuff down. So that will work out really well. Crawfish breed pretty quickly, and they grow pretty quickly if they have a lot of food. I probably, for year one, I wouldn't harvest anything. If I was going to go and I was going to do a 10-foot pool, I'd buy 15 pounds of live crawfish. I'd throw them in there, and they're all like, made my little ecosystem, throw them in there. And then I wouldn't harvest anything year one. Year two, I'd check. And by year two, you should have a bunch of babies that are all, that are all pretty good size. And then I would start harvesting there at about summer of year two. And then you should be able to harvest every 2 or 3 months with small amounts, up to 20 pounds every 2 or 3 months, without having a big negative effect on your crawfish. If you want to keep it self-sustaining, if you just want to go out there and get 4 or 5 pounds for you and your family, like once a week, then you're probably not going to make a big significant dent. And if you just wanted to shut the whole thing down and pull out 300 or 400 pounds of crawfish, at the end of that year, then that wouldn't hurt you either. So crawfish is more of a long-term endeavor than anything else. So that would be way number one that I would grow crawfish, and that would be the cheapest way to get started is just to buy your live crawfish already full grown. Call those your breeders and throw them in there and leave them alone and let them make babies. You're going to use a sinking pellet type food for them. So your floating catfish food that we've talked about using for pretty much everybody else is not going to work for these guys. These guys are going to want a sinking type pellet. You can buy sinking fish food for them. There are specialty blends, which I'm not a huge fan of, because if it only does one thing, it might do that one thing really, really well, but it's usually more expensive than a generic type. There's a whole bunch of diets online that you can look up to feed your crawfish. None of those I have currently written down. I do know that most of them have a lot of vegetable waste in them, because crawfish will eat anything, including each other, if they don't get enough protein. So make sure that whatever you're feeding them, make sure you feed them very well.
So I was just looking at this. So I was thinking, what are the loopholes, right? Like crawfish boils are huge in Texas. So can you sell like the crawfish for crawfish boil? So that prompted me to do a little research. So apparently you can do a crawfish boil and sell like the crawfish plates, or bags or whatever, for, all you have to do is get your temporary food permit. Of course you don't want to make it like a permanent situation. Unless you do, that'd probably be a horse of a different color, or crawfish of a different color. Boom, boom. But you can get by with getting a temporary food permit and sell crawfish boil bags or whatever.
That'd be a really good thing to do in the fall.
That'd be kind of cool. Oh. Actually, people love crawfish here. Crawfish and beer, and see a bunch of dudes like huddled around the crawfish. They're all so proud of their crawfish. I didn't see the big deal about it, but I enjoyed the camaraderie and breaking bread with people, and we just had a good time, anything for a good time. So I think we should do a crawfish boil now.
Yeah.
I changed my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think I like the idea of selling. Now the bag thing is you can incorporate a lot of the other produce from your farm into that. You know, your corn, your onions, your peppers, everything else. You could sell it as a kit. You know, that they take it home and throw it all together, and you that'd be value added to all of your stuff, because the individual stuff might be a heck of a lot cheaper than buying it all as a kit, which you'll be able to add money to it because it's a kit now.
And not only that, but you're also like reassuring people like, hey, these are the seasonings that go with crawfish, right? A lot of times they've never done it before, and so they don't know exactly what pairs well, what's the best seasoning out there for crawfish, and just leave that to an expert that has a nice package put together for you that you can purchase, you know?
What do you need, kiddo? Did you go potty?
No, she wants the umbrella.
You don't need it. She wants the umbrella to go because you're gonna go check on the chickens. It's dark already, sweetie. Not today. Not right now. I've seen this movie. You're gonna get wet and covered in mosquitoes. So so crawfish are really easy. So that's way number one, is to just get your breeders, set up your breeding pond, and let it rock and roll. Way number two is to buy your baby crawfish and raise them up. And that's going to be a lot faster. That's going to be 4 or 5 months turnaround time, but they're all going to be ready at once. You can leave some behind to be breeders to make your self-sustaining crawfish pond. But if I was going to spend the money and buy a whole mess of little baby fingerling crawfish, I'm going to just do it. I'm going to plan a farm activity where we're going to have the farm crawfish boil. I'm going to charge quite a bit per plate and get my little temporary food permit, which is probably like $200 or something like that. How much is it locally?
Yeah, I don't know how much
Doesn't
it is
say.
locally. No, I think it's even cheaper than $200. I really don't think it's that expensive.
Licensing, well, that's Texas. There we go. It's probably the Texas license. Get that temporary, search for that temporary food permit, Texas.
Second.
There we go. Texas. Sound effects. Yeah. Sound effects. This is trying to get you to apply for something else. No, just cost.
Just give me the price. I just gotta be so complicated. Just tell me.
Yeah. Add the word cost.
Yeah, that's giving me the whole license information.
This price.
Oops.
There we go.
That's about, like $52 to $200.
Single event permits are $52 and multiple event permits are $200. So $52, guys. That's like 2 people coming over to eat. So you're gonna make that back in a heartbeat. Oh, in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
so cool. Having your little that's totally what we're gonna do. Let's do that. I would just buy a whole bunch of little fingerling guys, raise the crap out of them, sell huge plates, just piled high with them, with all of your produce, incorporate into a farm tour at the end of the farm tour and the end of the talk and everything. And the educational side is when you open up your gift shop and start serving your crawfish at the same time. Have yourself a little and at the end of it all, play yourself some music, hire yourself some local little band to come out and play, and set up your little farmer's market there where everybody can buy all your produce. They can take home, boil in bags. So if they wanted to do the crawfish again at their house, they could. If they wanted to buy some of that sweet corn, if they want to buy everything else, you buy your jams, jellies, everything. Just really market the living crap out of yourself while you're doing this event. I think it'll go really well.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. So, okay.
I like it. I like the idea.
I've had a change of heart on the show. There we
Yeah.
go.
Now she's a crawfish fan.
Yeah, we might do a crawfish boil. So just
So,
hang out there.
other than crawfish, let's talk about freshwater prawns. So these are a little bit different than the regular shrimp you're going to get. They're called macropedia. They have the really long, crazy blue claws. They're awesome. They originated, I believe, in
I feel
Thailand.
like you fed me prawns.
No, you just hit the word prawn, honey, instead of freshwater prawn.
Oh,
You have to put fresh water in there.
I knew that.
Yeah, because prawn has a bunch of different words to it. So those guys,
Oh,
see
yeah,
the
I've never had that.
giant little, yeah. So they're a freshwater,
Shrimp?
yeah, basically freshwater shrimp. Now you're not going to be able to breed these guys. They have to spawn in saltwater, and then the babies eventually swim upstream into streams where they are then work their way into little lakes and ponds where they grow to be adults, and then the adults migrate back to the ocean to shake off their babies, and the babies float out in the ocean for a little while and come back. So there's dedicated breeders out there who have saltwater aquarium tanks or like saltwater above ground pools, basically, that they breed them in. And then you buy basically the fry. And you're buying these little guys are about the same size as your thumbnail. They're quite cheap. They have, on average, an 80% survival rate. All right. So if you buy 1,000 of them, you're going to harvest 800 of them. They like to have space because they are highly predatory, all right, and they're quite aggressive. So they're going to talk when you start looking into freshwater prawns. They're going to talk about something called substrate. When they're talking about substrate, people have had aquariums and stuff. You guys think, oh, the stuff that goes on the ground. They're not talking about that. They're talking about like screens that are held vertically or horizontally in PVC frames. So they do that so that they have multiple layers to do. So I've seen a lot of people build like a 2 foot by 2 foot cube, right, out of PVC, and inside that zip tie just regular window screen in 4 layers. So there's about 6 inches between each layer. So on the and then throw the cubes in their ponds, and then just do that until the whole bottom of the pond is covered in cubes. And what that does is it gives a bunch of different layers for those little shrimpies guys to find their happy spot at. Now, when they molt, they like to molt inside of cover. So what they'll do is they'll take window screen, roll it into tubes, and then cut it to about 8 inches. Zip tie one end, just one zip tie on one end to kind of make it to close it all the way down, so it's open on one side. They're just chucking those into the pond. So the little shrimp can crawl inside there, face the entrance, feel secure, and molt. And what the other shrimp does is that the other guys will go over there, they'll eat that the shell of the one that molted to regain the calcium and the minerals from it. And so it's self-emptying. And the next one goes in there and uses a little hotel and molts, and then they just do that over and over. This also makes it super easy to clean, guys, because it's just screen. When you pull it out, I mean, when you pull out these PVC cubes, you're just going to put them out in the grass, right, and let them dry. They won't be covered in algae because the little guys are going to be eating the algae and everything off of them. And if you have any detritus or anything on them, you can just spray it with some water, let it go out into your grass. Let this stuff dry until you're ready to go again. The cycle on these guys is, let's see, I wrote it down. I actually took notes. And I lost it. Yeah. Okay. The return is about 6 months. All right. So you need at least 100 days. So in 100 days, the little bitty fry are going to turn into about if you're going to like call them shrimp size, they're going to be 14 to 16. Right, so 14 to 16 of those guys per pound in 100 days. You really want to harvest them in 6 months, and then those guys are in the like 3 ounce, 4 ounce area there. So if you put those are big prawns at that point. those are the like 5 to 6 or maybe size 8 to a pound. 6 to 8 to a pound. Those are big. They'll be called the colossal shrimp that I guess you would buy at like HEB or something like that. The real big guys. So that's great. You're gonna process them exactly like you would any other shrimp. The one caveat is that their big giant blue arms actually have meat in them, like crab legs.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you can yank the little arms off and serve those with your people.
So I see like the most popular. I've never cooked prawn before, so like the most popular dishes are like a stir fry or like cooked and baked in rice.
Yeah, well, you're gonna cook them like any other shrimp. The one thing is that they're slightly more firm meat than any other type of shrimp.
Tougher.
No, it's just firmer. It's more like closer to like a scallop or something, like little bit firmer meat.
Okay.
So it's not a big deal. It works out really well. A lot of people just roll them on the barbecue exactly as they are, head and everything, because there is quite a bit of meat inside the head of these freshwater prawns. Plus, they have people like to suck the head, which is weird to me. I don't.
That's weird.
Yeah.
No.
It's weird to me, but I guess there's head butter in there, whatever. Yeah, it's brains. It's all brains.
Okay. No. Not happening. Okay. Moving on.
Yeah. I would just process them like I would any other shrimp. I'd, pop little heads off, and then, devein and everybody's processed shrimp or bought shrimp at the store. So it's not a big deal. We don't have to get too deep into that.
Pretty cool.
They work super well. They are fast. They're easy. They're bulletproof. As long as you keep the water moving and you can keep predators away from them, they'll eat any sort of sinking fish food pellet. They'll also enjoy occasional vegetables. I've seen people get very successful with carrots, beets, potatoes that are cooked, like whole potatoes. Throw it in there. A little bit of everything, man. They'll really eat a little bit of everything. Fish meal, just about anything, man. They're really pretty darn easy to take care of, and pretty easy to cycle through. And who doesn't want 300 or 400 pounds of shrimp at the end of the 6-month cycle?
Yeah.
You're going to end up save those heads, put them in your garden, save any of the waste, any of the shells, put those in your garden. They're going to be super good for everything. I don't compost things like that because I don't want to lose the nutrition to the atmosphere. When your compost pile is getting smaller, that is not that it's being digested and concentrated. That's all that carbon and nitrogen turning into atmospheric carbon and atmospheric nitrogen. It's literally just evaporating and going away. When I do stuff, I want all of that nutrition. I raise those shrimp. I want the return of investment. I want them underneath my plants, making my plants happier.
Yeah.
So you're going to harvest them just like any other shrimp. You're just going to lower the water level and then scoop them out with a net and then dump them right into ice water. And that'll cool them off quite a bit. And then that'll kill them. And then you can just flash freeze them from there. Put a couple of pounds per bag and let your card carrying shrimp enthusiasts come in with the membership card. Come and pick up their couple pounds of shrimp. They're in high demand. And as time goes on, they're finding that it's way more sustainable to grow these freshwater prawns than it is to even harvest any other type of shrimp from the wild or to do the farm raised saltwater shrimp, because the waste is just a little bit of effluent water that they can use to grow vegetables and plants. And that's going to kind of lead us into what we're going to talk about next week. And next week, we're going to talk about aquaponics.
But before we get into that, I wanted to share a recipe. And if you're listening, you get to, this is your golden ticket right here. So one thing, we're big fans of like shrimp tacos, fish tacos, fish fries, things like that. And this whole episode just, I'm thinking about my cabbage. Like every time we make a fish fry, I prepare my cabbage a certain way. So I will cut cabbage in, slivers, and then I add purple onion, and then I add lemon pepper, lime, and then the vinegar of a can of jalapenos. So you have canned jalapenos with that vinegar, the spicy vinegar in there. So I douse my cabbage in that.
She's making like a Mexican slaw.
It's like a Mexican slaw, and I toss it all together. Guys, it is amazing. So
it's the best thing on fish tacos.
It's the best thing on fish tacos. And so I use that and a red salsa and some avocado slices, and it's money. So if you were here all night listening to us rant and talk about fish farming, then you have this little bonus of getting my secret recipe. So
it's a good recipe.
It is a great recipe. So you're welcome.
I didn't even think about that in that. There's so many good ways to cook the fish too. But the prawns, I see a lot of people just toss them on the grill.
Yeah, I've never seen that, so we'll have to experience that. Yeah. But moving on to our next episode next week, which is going to be really cool. It's actually one of our highest in demand, just because my husband, he was really set in, farming in ground for a very long time. Kind of got burnt out on that because we lived in West Texas, where it was a desert climate.
Desert freaking wasteland.
Very hard to
desert wasteland
in the ground, but we did
and
it.
And then there was rabbits and moles and every imaginable type of animal.
Regardless, though, his garden was amazing.
Yeah.
So if he had the ability to grow like that in West Texas, where it was just dirt, desert, hard dirt, it was very hard farming. I'm really excited to see what we can do here. But when we moved, we lived in the burbs. I mean, we still kind of live in the burbs. We're very, very close to closing on our house and property, but we are still stuck in the burbs. We just
finished the last of the paperwork.
Yeah, we did.
And signed the paperwork to allow them to start construction on the road and the foundation and everything.
Yeah, so we're super excited about that.
Super great.
But we were in like this limbo where it's kind of weird to grow and start up a farm and things like that.
They're renting a house and they don't like. They tend to frown on me just like digging up the backyard,
tilling the yard. Like, what are you doing? But either way, we did above ground farming. So Eric will talk a little bit more about that. But that is our next episode next week, and we're super excited because that is one of our episodes that is a high in demand for urban farmers.
Yeah, everybody wants to kind of learn about the aquaponics or the hydroponics type stuff, and I let the beer speak to me, and combined like 6 or 7 different hydroponic styles to come up with our own. And it was a super fail-safe way, and we took a lot of pictures.
Fully
automated with one pump. And it was super awesome, and we'll totally go over the entire build list, how it all worked, how it all put together, and throw in a bunch of pictures for our next week's podcast. It's going to be a lot of fun. This one's a little bit shorter, guys, because we didn't have as much material to cover, so it's not going to be our typical 90-minute episode. What are we missing? We're missing plants of the day.
Plants of the day?
We haven't done plant of the day.
Oh, and you didn't do skill of the day.
Oh, we didn't do skill of the day.
Those are you. So, I don't know if you're ready.
Plants of the day. The plant of the day is going to be the purple passion asparagus. Ooh. So this is a purple asparagus. The best thing about them is they're 20% more natural sugar, so they're much sweeter. They stay tender much longer. The problem is because they are sweeter, bugs like them a little bit more. They have much sweeter stalks. They're super vitamin rich. They have that purple vitamin everybody loves. What's it? That anthocyanin or whatever it is. She's gonna look it up. It's a fancy word that I don't use. They're super tender, so you can eat them much later and when they're much larger, right? Mm-hmm. You just can look up purple vegetables, vitamins. There's a word for the vitamin that they have. Sorry. They have a nutty flavor just like regular everyday asparagus. They do turn green when they're cooked because just the chemical reaction when they're purple. Anthocyanins. See, I was kind of close-ish.
Ish.
So as with all of the other asparagus, they're super cold hardy. These guys are really heat tolerant and they're slower to bolt than your standard green ones. So to plant these guys, you're gonna wait till the spring when you can start working the soil. You're gonna dig a 12-inch wide, like a foot by foot by foot trench, right? So dig a foot wide trench, a foot deep. Mix in your compost, any sort, like a regular everyday fertilizer, your organic fertilizer, whatever you want to mix. I use a lot of animal poo or like dead fish, stuff like that. And then you're going to make mounds that are about 18 inches apart. Okay. Y'all ever planted roses? You planted roses. I think you planted roses with me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you make the mound and you put the rose on top of the mound so that the roots go down the side of the mound. You're going to do the same thing with these asparagus crowns. You're going to get asparagus crown. You're going to make a mound. You're going to make them about 18 inches apart. You're going to put the asparagus crown on the top of the mound so the roots go down the side of it. And then you're going to fill it. You're going to backfill it with dirt. The reason that you do that is if it ends up getting wet, like super, like if your trench fills with water, the roots are already disseminated enough, and that the top of the crown will get out of the water quicker. All right,
makes sense.
Also, it causes a big root structure to grow right off the bat. So once you've made your bed, asparagus bed, you're gonna go. Like they last forever, ever and ever and ever and ever. Like asparagus beds, they can live for 10, 20, 30 years, as long as you take care of them. So I don't ever let them go to seed, or I try not to let them go to seed. I try to harvest them all, I'll let some get a little bit bigger, but I try not to let them go to seed because I don't want them to self-replicate other places. From seed, asparagus takes forever, many, many years to fruit. From a crown, you can start getting your edible, like asparagus, later in the season. About that is it's just going to get better every year. Like you'll get more and more asparagus every year. I like to plant them in blocks. So I'll do I'll dig out an entire area and do like maybe 10 plants across by 10 plants deep, so I might do 100 plants in an area the size of a very large living room. And then, so I'll just have like the asparagus forest. And then when it's asparagus season, everybody gets asparagus, and whether they like it or not. And then excess asparagus, you can can it, you can pickle it, you can fry it, you can store it, you can freeze it, you can do a whole bunch of fun stuff with it. Pickled asparagus is pretty awesome, guys. It's really good. It freeze dries pretty well. It does not dehydrate super well. It turns into like leather. That's about it as far as that. What do you want to do for the skill of the day? I forgot about skill of the day.
I don't know what I want to do for the skill of the day. Actually,
what was something cool I did? I did something cool recently. What did I do?
What did we do? You made a cake, but that's different.
Yeah, I threw together a cake from randomness.
I would say, what did we make recently? Most recent.
I made a bunch of hot sauce.
Ooh, well, we talked about that. The Thai chili. We
talked about that.
Okay.
It's still
going. Like, we talked about us making your spices.
We talked about spices.
We did talk.
We've talked about spices.
Okay.
Let's see. Skill of the day. Sucking at picking out a podcast skill of the day.
Sucking.
10 stars.
You dropped the ball.
10 out of 10 stars.
Literally. How
to do that is to just simply forget that you were supposed to do a skill of the day.
Problem solving. We're problem solvers, I would say that that's a skill. A lot of people are like deer in the headlights when, a tough situation arises. But us, we could look at a situation, kind of reverse engineer everything and make it work in our favor. So, with how to get around, certain compliances, things like that, which we're not condoning. Allegedly.
Skill of the day is allegedly make a membership, bro.
Yes.
Like a club. Okay, so skill of the day is Adventure Club. get on Facebook and make yourself a Facebook club, like a Facebook page for your farm club, so it looks semi legit. I mean, totally legit, right? Like totally
Right,
legit, totally legit.
Totally.
Yeah, and then so Staples will make you business cards for cheap. I think I paid like $12 for what?
It was like $20 for like 500.
Yeah, like $20 for like 500. They're ready in like 4 hours. So you can get a card that says anything. My card just says expert. It doesn't have anything else on it. It has my name and expert and my email address. That's it. It confuses people. It's awesome. And the reason is it's like expert in what? I'm like, yes. And they're like, but yes.
Yeah. It's really hard. I mean, you can't put my husband in a box. Like, it's just too hard.
Well, my previous one said, was it expert witness?
Oh, geez.
My previous, because I know what I saw.
And on that note, hydroponics next week, guys.
Yeah. So, yeah, building your club. that'd be the skill of the day. Skill of the day. Get around the bureaucracy, build a club. Get some business cards, make little cool punch cards out of them, and sell your crustacean card, your tilapia card, your blah 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 card. Figure out what's going to cost you per pound. It's going to be cheap.
I can't imagine that the license and the permit can be that expensive. I think I saw it was like
the problem with that is that
is the regulations
then they know you have it, and then they can visit you and
pop in.
Yeah, pop in to visit you, and which would be okay, but then
I mean, you should be doing everything right though, so it should be right.
Then they ask questions like, so, sir, why are you naked?
Don't be suspicious. Yeah. Don't be suspicious.
They ask you questions like, why are you mowing like that? Why are you doing this? And it's like, because I want to. It's my property. Do what I want. If I want to intimidate the neighbors, I can do that. Just gotta keep everybody in their place.
He's really a big teddy bear. Okay. So next week, hydroponics.
Hydroponics. It's gonna be a really fun episode, guys.
Tomatoes, peppers.
Oh man, our peppers went up. Our tomatoes were on the roof.
Our tomatoes. Tomatoes.
Where are you from, Alabama?
Yeah, right. No, but they grew really well. I was really impressed and really surprised. And again, I have a big family, and they'd come over and they'd be like, "Oh, can I get some peppers and tomatoes?" I'm like, "Help yourself." And I always still felt like I had so much to cook with.
Oh, we couldn't get them away.
Yeah, I felt I was fine. It was really cool.
But all right, guys. Well, thank you for listening to our episode, and this is going to conclude our 3-part animal husbandry type stuff. We might do specific animal husbandry things later on, when we try to build specific things, when we do build our quail cages. I've got an idea for a new type of quail cage. It's gonna be pretty interesting. We might do one on that. And you're just gonna kind of follow along with us how we do different animal stuff and our different adventures.
Mm-hmm. And as we're doing it, we'll be able to upload content to all our socials and everything, so you guys are definitely in the loop, and you have visuals of exactly what it looks like. And what
definitely follow us on the what do you got? Instagrams?
We got Instagram, we got TikTok, we got Facebook.
I don't do anything with the TikToks. That's all you.
Yeah.
Talk tick or whatever communist
but I won't start putting content up until we actually have our working homestead. So
I put content on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
So we got a bunch of stuff on there. Yeah, and our Etsy store. We're going to add some more stuff on Etsy.
We have our Etsy store where we have our designs. And guys, we do work full-time jobs. So, we do this on the side just to share the knowledge. So anything that you could do to help, purchase something from our Etsy, that really helps a lot and goes a long way.
Yeah, or just like us on Facebook. We're also always available, guys. If you want to send a message to either the Facebook or the Instagram, one of us will get back to you. If it's me, it'll be sarcastic. If it's her, it'll be nice.
It'll be sweet. Or if you have any suggestions to any guides that you want us to create, we're currently looking at different types of guides because people want to specialize in specific things. So if there's something specific that you're looking for, let us know. We'll be happy to put something together for you.
Yeah, we're going to put out a whole bunch of little ebooks that are going to be super cheap. But be very picture intensive. We find a lot of people like in-depth descriptions along with pictures, and so we're gonna do like step by step, picture by picture, how we build absolutely everything, how we do everything, and we're gonna put those little ebooks together, and we're gonna sell them for like $5. They'll be real cheap. That'll be something you can have forever and ever, and print for print out for yourself, make your own little binder, and who knows, maybe at the end of a year or so, when we have a bunch of those ebooks, we'll put out a big master book.
That'd be super cool.
Which would
I
be
like
pretty
that
cool.
idea.
Which we might actually pay to have printed.
Yeah.
But
And one thing that I don't know I've shared is like my husband is like he's literally like a chef. Like anything that we've ever grown or any animal livestock we've ever raised, like my husband butchers it, my husband processes it, and then he adds his own spices and his own spin. And geez, it is like literally the best food that I've ever had. And there's no need for me to go to a 5-star restaurant and pay a $200 bill and be disappointed. I mean, when I can have, that for a fraction of the cost at home, and just that nothing beats a home cooked meal that you grow, that you have, that you raise, so it's a different experience. It's definitely farm to table in this household. And I'm very grateful that my husband is very skilled in the kitchen, because we don't just, grow everything just to grow everything. We grow everything to process and to eat it. And we just make delicious food out of it. So
we like our food.
Yeah, we're big time foodies, big time foodies. So
well, it kind of sucks because we go out places and we're like, but ours is better.
Yeah, I just can't. I won't order a steak anywhere. That's not going to happen because I'll just be highly disappointed.
Oh, we could. Our steak salt is on.
Our steak salt is on Etsy.
Hey, there you go. You guys want to try some of that? It's a Feral steak salt. It's made from everything we've grown. All the spices in it are we've grown. Everything, including the black pepper, we grew. The only thing I didn't do was the salt itself, because it turns out turning like seawater into salt is extremely labor intensive and not something I want to do. So it's just made with kosher salt. Other than that, everything else in there, like the garlic, we smoked it, we grew it, we smoked it, we ground it up.
We grew it.
The rosemary, man, every spice in there. Man, it makes my mouth water. I love it on everything. We call it steak salt because primarily it was invented for like
our steaks here at home.
Putting on steaks. You just cover your steak with it liberally, and then you sear the crap out of it, and it's amazing.
Mm-hmm. But I have friends that actually go through it, and then they'll hit me up and they're like, "Hey, we ran out of steak salt. Get us some more." And so we provide it to our friends and stuff. But if you guys want to purchase it on our Etsy, go for it.
It's quite a bit that we give you, and anything bought from our Etsy is that comes shipped from us, like our steak salt. We always put in some cool stickers and swag and things like that from her. But yeah, so our steak salt, would love to get you all out there, get some of that to you guys. It has a bunch of ingredients in it, but it's all like gluten-free, blah, blah, blah. So good stuff, good times had by all. Well, we love our listeners, and thank you. Hey, there's a bunch of you that have been tuning in from New Zealand. That's awesome, guys. Love our New Zealand guys. Love our Canadian friends. Love everybody that's been listening. We've been slowly picking up listeners. Super, super enjoy that. And thank you for listening, and good night.
Thanks, guys. Good night.
Oh, wait, what's the nice thing to say today? We forgot a nice thing.
Oh, geez. Nice thing to say. What is the nice thing to say today?
Don't eat yellow snow.
Hey, there's nothing like breaking bread in your community. So, if all else fails, guys, cook a nice meal for your neighbors. Use some of your farm pickings and your processed animals, and put together a nice little bistro, setting for your neighbor, and invite them over and break some bread, drink some wine, learn about them, learn about what they like to do, and what they like to partake in, and start that community up. So super important to me, but always, just use things from your garden and impress people. It's people will love it. So enjoy it.
Yeah, I'd say make a relationship with your local feed store. Not so much Tractor Supply. If you make friends with Tractor Supply, make friends with specific people at Tractor Supply. But overall, the giant conglomerate that's Tractor Supply doesn't really care about you. The local people that run the Tractor Supply, though, if you can make a relationship with those guys, you can get some like customer returns for really cheap. That'd be like a pro tip for me. It's like we've gotten all of our generators and everything from Tractor Supply.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so people are really, really, really stupid, and I say that in the nicest way possible. We got this our latest 7,500 watt generator because the guy bought it, took it outside to the parking lot, took it out of the crate, tried to mount it on the back of his truck, tried to start it. It would run for 30 seconds and then stop. And so he tried that like 6 or 8 times. Then he brought it back in to Tractor Supply and put it there. Tractor Supply called us like, hey, it's a return, but it's under warranty and everything like that. So you can have it for like $100. Yeah, but it won't run. And I was like, cool, I'll come check it out. So I came and checked it out. It turns out the guy had never put the oil in it. And without oil, it has an automatic engine oil cutoff. So I dumped the 2 quarts of oil that comes with it into the engine, fired it right up, and it's been our best generator ever since. So yeah, you can make some friends with Tractor Supply that way. They're great for that kind of stuff. But as far as like insider information, planting times, seeds, stuff like that, your local feed store is going to be the way to go, guys. A lot of those guys are retired farmers who decided they were getting older. They decided to open a feed store, and those guys you can find. You can ask them like, "Hey, I need some sheep, or I need some goats," and they know somebody who has goats for sale. Hey, I need this or I need that. They know somebody who has something for sale. And they always appreciate it if you bring in something for them. Like I used to bring in pickled goods and bread and all sorts of stuff to our local feed store when we lived back towards Austin area. And I would trade all sorts of things for feed. They were great people, man. I really enjoyed it. And we've got a new local feed store
that we like. That we like.
Yeah, we discovered we like. It's great. It's a family-run little feed store. And they, remember us. We remember them. We all like talking. It's great fun. It's a sense of community, and you can build a lot of community around your feed store. But I said this wasn't going to be a long, regular episode.
And you turned it into a long one.
Turned it in there. Imagine that. So thank you guys for listening. We love our listeners. And if there's anything we can ever answer for you, if there's any way we can help you, give us a holler. Thank you guys, and appreciate you.